Hey guys, this is Vince, a French student in international business, quite curious about the different cultures and the creativity that are associated with it. In this video, I'm going to reflect upon my experience in Western Canada. It was last year when I completed my undergraduate program in the University of British Columbia, located in Kelowna. During 8 months, I witnessed a different culture. I was involved in the dynamics of the management student faculty, and I totally experienced the Canadian business culture. Why did I choose to make this video in this format instead of meeting with one student? Because I believe that meeting with only one student from a foreign country cannot represent all the aspects and subtleties of a culture. Whereas with my 8 months experience in Western Canada, I can reflect upon my meetings and interaction with various Canadian people. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what I experienced there and make a cultural analysis of the Canadian culture. As a result, I will describe the Canadians' behavior, talk about the culture as a whole, and assess it with Hofstede cultural dimensions model. Let's begin. Moving on to the country presentation. I'm going to present you shortly some data about Canada. Canada has a 35 million inhabitants population, and it's the second largest country in the world, with a territory divided in 10 provinces and 3 territories. Last year, I was living in British Columbia, where the Red Pointer is located. It is considered as the more beautiful province of Canada, and to give you an idea of the size of this territory, France could fit in it. Canada is a very young country, historically speaking, with the European colonization starting in the 15th century. The history and emergence as a nation is mainly dominated by 2 other countries, France and Great Britain. The native Canadians, also called First Nations, have been long eradicated and culturally oppressed. But since the beginning of the 21st century, governments and local actors are protecting and favoring the re-emergence of their culture. This I have witnessed while traveling in British Columbia, a region where natives are playing some active roles in the communities through education programs, arts, and events. In its history, Canada has seen successive waves of immigration. From Europe, the Netherlands, Germany, Italy, England, or Ireland. From Asia, with China and Japan, but also many countries in Africa. In the end, Canada is a multicultural country where diversity influences the daily life of a nation that have been built by adventurers. In order to illustrate the values and culture of this country, I'm going to display an advertising made by Hudson's Bay Company, the oldest company in Canada, founded in 1670. In this campaign, called The Country of Adventurers, you will see that they leverage Canadian values and culture, and this will help you grasp the second part of my presentation.
Let me tell you about the greatest Arctic explorer you've probably never heard of. John Ray was a doctor for Hudson's Bay Company. And in their service, Dr. Ray learned that he loved to explore. He led 4 Arctic expeditions back in the 1840s and 50s, back when most explorers either froze or starved to death. But Ray knew how to live off the land. He learned from the Inuit. He built snow houses. And he survived the Arctic winters. It was Ray who discovered the fate of the doomed Franklin expedition. And it was Ray who found the last missing link of the fabled Northwest Passage. Just goes to show, survival skills can take you a long way. We are a country of adventurers.
And this leads us to Hofstede cultural dimensions about Canada. I find that this video in particular illustrates pretty well the individualism, power distance, and uncertainty avoidance aspects of this culture. You can see tough men, excelling in what they do, pushing themselves beyond their limits, with a hefty willpower, and with a future that is characterized by much uncertainty. Even if this video shows the historical roots of Canada, I believe it is the essence of nowadays Canadian culture and values. This chart represents the 4 cultural dimensions of Canada according to Hofstede's cultural dimensions model. Starting with the power distance. With a score of 39 on this dimension, Canadian culture is marked by interdependence among its inhabitants, and there is a value placed on egalitarianism. Hierarchy in Canadian organizations is established for convenience. Superiors are always accessible, and managers rely on individual employees and teams for their expertise. With respect to communication, Canadians value a straightforward exchange of information. I have witnessed this in the various group work I realized there. While there is a team leader, his role is to give a structure to the group activities and bring an active decision-making process. Group members are independent and don't rely on the group leader to take decisions. They take initiatives by themselves. When I compare it to the French hierarchical distance, I find the gap is obvious. French people tend to rely on the leader in the decision-making process and need directives to start working. The second cultural dimension is individualism. Canada scores 80 on this dimension and can be characterized as a very individualist culture. This translates into a society socially distant, in which the expectation is that people look after themselves and their immediate families. Similarly, in the business world, employees are expected to be self-reliant and display initiative. Also, promotion decisions are based on merits or evidence of what one has done or can do. Individualism is the cultural factor that struck me first in Canada. The students that I met were driven by strong individual values, were autonomous, and had a personal identity. I contrast it with the French tendency to require assistance to go on, and also their need of belonging to a community. Last but not least, the masculinity versus femininity aspect. Canada scores 52 on this dimension and can be characterized as a moderately masculine society. While Canadians strive to attain high standard of performance in both work and play, there is a respect to achievement, success, and winning. Similarly, Canadians also tend to have a work-life balance and are likely to take time to enjoy personal pursuits, family gatherings, and life in general. Considering my experience, I have been particularly impressed by the independence of Canadian women and their willpower to reach their goals. I have seen many female classmates taking roles of leaders, take the head of associative projects, and do public speaking in conferences. I also noticed this cultural aspect in the decision-making process. Women tended to be more direct and confident in the communication. Tackling the last aspect of this cultural dimension model, the uncertainty avoidance. The Canadian score on this dimension is 48, and Canadian culture is more uncertainty accepting. This is indicative of the easy acceptance of new ideas, innovative products, and a willingness to try something new or different. Canadians are also tolerant of ideas or opinions from anyone and allow the freedom of expression. And I totally agree on this point. The management students or people I have met with there had an entrepreneurial culture and didn't hesitate to take risks and expose themselves to the unknown. I reckon this is strongly linked to the country history, a country of adventurers that exposed themselves in an unsafe environment and embraced newness.
ولا ينفع وسد وسنين